Gus with Serafina.
Hey everybody, it was so fun in Melrose. Oh my goodness, I have to go back in autumn and ride that epic trail. But for now, I'm going on another adventure to New Zealand, yay! But I have no idea how to put Fredo into a box for travelling on the plane.
Exactly.
Yeah, so I was like, ask Lewis how to do it.
Let's box it up then. Perfect. All right. Hopefully we can make a nice little video of how we sort of box up the bike. Because obviously when you go on the plane or bus or wherever it is that you're going, sometimes you can't just carry a bike like this onto the plane. You have to put it into a box so they can put it into the luggage underneath. It's important that when we're putting it into the box that we put it in nice and safely as well. Because all these other things, I'm sure you've heard horror stories of these baggage handlers. They just need to load everything in, so it's all about being fast and they just chuck everything on top of each other. So if we can try and be careful with how we box it up, then we give it the best chance of being ready to ride when we're at the other end, at the destination. So I guess we'll just get started. Step number one is to sort of wrap parts of the frame with foam. The reason I do that is so that nothing can scratch it, as well as if it has some sort of small impacts in the box throughout its journey, it's less likely to get damaged. So I suppose we'll start with that. One more thing worth mentioning is there's so many different types of sticky tape that we can use when I'm wrapping it around the foam here. We've got electrical tape, we've got duct tape and gaffer tape. My favourite for this job is masking tape. The reason for that is that it's easier to rip than everything else. So when we put it on, it will hold nice and easily. And then when we get to the other end, we don't have to use anything like a tool like scissors or anything like that to cut it, because with masking tape, hopefully with our fingers, we can just rip it off. So it's a whole lot easier to do. So that's why I like masking tape when I'm putting a bike in a box. So next little part that we've got, once we have our foam covering all the different contact points, I choose to do the top tube, the down tube, the seat stay, and the chain stay, all on non-drive side. Drive side, I find it a little bit sort of less important because you don't have the tyre strapped on that side. And we're gonna have a bit of a play around with some different parts along here, especially the rear derailleur. We don't want to get that damaged during transit. That's arguably one of the most important parts. But step one, cover the contact points in foam. And when I say the contact points, I mean that will make more sense in a later step when we take the front wheel off. But what we're gonna do now is we're gonna remove the stem from the handlebar and make sure you have a section of toilet roll ready. Hopefully this section you can cut it to be about the same height as what the stem is here. This one is almost to the millimetre, identical, which is perfect. So we'll put that aside. Let's loosen all of these, the two pinch bolts on the side. One there, one there. We'll loosen them a bit. And then this top one, which is the top cap, we'll take that one all the way off. And now the handlebars can come off like that. For now, we're just going to leave that resting there. This is where our toilet roll comes in. Slide that over the top, and then we can reuse this top cap here. The reason that I take the handlebars off is because they're so wide. They take up more than the width of the box. Even if you were to turn it all sideways, sometimes it means that it's quite long as well. So removing the whole thing just means that we've got the most space that we can have. Perfect, there you go. Now we've got the handlebars off. We're going to just take the front wheel off now actually, so this is easier for ourselves. Now since Fredo has cable operated disc brakes, it's a little bit less important, but if this was a hydraulic disc brake, I would be putting one of these little brake wedges in between the brake pads, which will just slide in between the two pads. And what that'll mean is if you accidentally pull the brake or it gets bumped at some point during transit, the pistons aren't going to push themselves out. This only matters on hydraulic brakes. It doesn't matter on cable brakes because the pistons can't fall out. With our zip ties handy, we'll put one around here. Relatively loose, just so I can put the other one where it needs to go as well. Now it helps having really long zip ties for this part. Sometimes you'll come into the problem where your zip ties aren't quite long enough and you're just reaching and you just need 1 more centimetre. But unfortunately, You can't just stretch the zip tie 1 more centimetre. So if you're out buying zip ties, buy some of the longer ones that you can find. Try and get at least 30 centimetres, a school ruler. Cool. I might put some on the front as well in different areas where it's contacting. And I can see down on the front here that it's getting pretty close to the handlebar here, or to the shifter here. So I'm going to put that piece there with our masking tape. Cool. Now the shifter's not going to bump on there. Put another piece there. You can never have too much foam on your bike when you're packing it up. Yes, it'll make it a little bit heavier, but being a little bit heavier is better than having a damaged bike at the other end, I think. Cool. So again, we might just take this as an opportunity to make sure that no parts are bumping onto each other, because when it's in the box, they're going to throw it around, shake it, the plane's flying, the plane's landing, all of this stuff. So we could even just shake it with our hands, make sure that nothing's bumping on down here, nothing's sort of bumping down here. If there's any parts that are bumping, zip tie it all together so that it will all move as one big part rather than bumping into each other. It will all move together. And this one looks like it's all nice and solid. I don't see any parts bumping. There were 2 parts, but now we've fixed both of them. And next step, I might even take the pedals off to make the whole bike a little bit narrower. Now your pedals will usually have one of 3 different mounting, or 3 different tools. This one uses a 15mm spanner. Sometimes it'll use a 6mm Allen key along the back, and sometimes it'll use an 8mm Allen key on the back. Whatever you need, use that tool. What do you think, Serafina? Are you learning something?
Yeah, I think I could do this myself. It's but it's good breaking it right down, and I like how you put all the padding and stuff so it's not going to get scratched or anything like that. That's
give it its best chance. Really, that's sort of the main part of boxing up a bike, just to really cover it in foam and bubble wrap and that sort of thing, so that nothing can damage the bike or scratch it. Perfect. So now I've got a little bit of bubble wrap here. I like bubble wrap because it's very malleable, it's very easy to fold it and bend it where it needs to go. So we're going to cut off a section, I'm going to say similar to like an A3 piece of paper, I suppose, should be enough. And with our masking tape, we'll come around to the non-drive side of the bike. And we want to cover the crank arm here. However you need to do it, I tend to sort of wrap it around one area and then I wrap it in a different direction in a second. Again, with our masking tape. We'll do 1 lap. And then I like to fold a piece over the top part here as well so that it can't slide downwards. Perfect. Now the reason that I do that is because this is where we're going to mount the front wheel. We're going to put it on the side here. I have the crank facing slightly forward, and then I want to feed it into the spokes and slide the whole thing up, kind of like that. Now remember when we put these pieces of foam on the side here, on the seat stay and the chain stay, that's because they're now contact points of the tyre. So now the tyre isn't going to rub up against the frame. Using our trusty zip ties again, we're going to strap it on in 3 different spots at least. We're going to do the top tube, the seat stay, and the chain stay. Oh, the zip tie is just too short. It's just too short. I'm going to attach 2 together, which is almost cheating. I could have bought longer zip ties, but instead I'm going to strap 2 together. There's one. Perfect, just long enough. And then again, one on the top tube. I remember chatting to a friend of mine who was the mechanic for the Olympic track team, and he was telling me once upon a time that they used to send bikes with 120 psi in the tyres and it didn't really matter. I tried to argue with him a little bit, so maybe I think that you should let tyres down, but I've heard some of the pros say that you don't need to. I don't trust it, so yes, we'll let some of the tyre pressure out as well. So at the moment we've got, I'm going to assume about 40 psi it feels like, so relatively hard. We're just going to let some air out because as you go up with the plane, everything, the pressure and the science that someone can explain in the comments, the pressure of the plane just gets so hard that the tyre ends up expanding. So to save ourselves the hassle, we're just going to let some air out. Perfect, and now I've got a bit of squeeze in there as well, so should be more than enough let out now. We're down to about probably 10 psi it feels like. We'll do the same for the back. Perfect. Now it's nice and low. Next step, and possibly the most important one that a lot of people often skip because they don't think about it too much, is that the rear derailleur is sitting out further than most of the rest of the bike. You can see the black part of the derailleur is sticking out past the green part of the frame. So I always choose to take the derailleur off. When the derailleur is on here, there's 3 parts of the bike here if you want to bring the camera in a bit closer. We've got the expensive frame, which is the green part. We've got the expensive derailleur, which is the shiny black part. And then we've got this sort of matte finish part here called the hanger. So the frame, the derailleur, and the hanger. The hanger is designed to fail. It's designed to bend or snap or twist or everything like that rather than breaking the expensive frame or the expensive derailleur. So what we're going to do is we're just going to literally remove the derailleur from it. It's usually a 5mm Allen key, but it might be different for some different bikes. And I choose just to have it hanging simply there because now you can see what the hanger looks like. This thin piece of metal can bend and snap and twist. So just removing it means that nothing can bend that because there's nothing attached to it. Since that's just going to be dangling around in the box here, I like to wrap some foam around it so that as it's sort of swinging around, it's not going to hit anything like scratch these spokes or anything like that. So we're just going to wrap it in some foam. Okay, so I've just dropped the bike a little bit in the work stand so that I can see the whole seat tube here, the seat post here. Reason I do that is I like to grab some sort of tape. I choose to use electrical tape for this part, but you can still use that masking tape. And I cut off a couple of inches worth of tape. Doesn't really matter how long it is, but about that. And all I'm going to do is I'm going to put it right at the base of the seat post here so that we can now see exactly the height of the seat. So when we take the seat post out of the bike, we know exactly where to put it when Serafina gets back to the other end anyway. So it should make the whole process a lot easier when you're at the other end. Everything that we're doing now is to make it easier at the other end. Cool, so now we just take the seat post out of the bike. Plain and simple. And now that's what it's going to look like when it's sitting inside the box, which is when we have our, and hopefully that bike should fit into this box, hopefully. What do you reckon, Serafina? It looks pretty close.
I think you might have done it. I think that's going to squeeze it.
I reckon it'll squeeze it. I reckon it'll be nice and tight. Let's have a look.
Yeah.
If you can just help me by holding it open. Thank you.
Yeah, that is perfect.
Perfect.
That is amazing.
Look at that. That's excellent. And then we'll tape it up. We might put your helmet in there or any other parts that you don't want to carry in your backpack. Maybe some spare clothes or whatever it is.
Yeah.
But then we'll take this up and you're ready to go. Other than the seat post. That is, oh man, that is the classic that everybody forgets. The bits they take off. These two parts, the seat post and the pedals.
And the pedals.
We might put them into a little bag. I'm just going to grab us a bag.
Yeah.
We'll put that somewhere in there. Hopefully pushed up tight with something else so that, again, thinking about how much the bike's going to shake around as it gets flown around the country or overseas, that hopefully it doesn't get damaged too much as well. So if you just chuck it in there, maybe just, I always choose to put it near the tyre because the tyre has a bit of, it's nice and tight, it's less likely to shake around. If I had it just resting on top here, it might shake its way down and bump a derailleur by accident or something along those lines. So it's all just about being as careful as you can, and the best way to be careful when we're talking about boxing up the bike is just to have everything strapped together so it's all one piece rather than having lots of individual parts rolling around in there, because then it's less likely to bounce around and bump each other. Making sure that nothing shakes around too much. I like to put the seat post up against the tyre, and if I can kind of shove it in a little bit, then I know that that's not going anywhere. Nothing's going to shake that around. I always like to just do a quick final check before you seal the box up, because once it's sealed up, that's it. Is there anything else you want to put in the box before we seal it up?
Can I go in the box so I can just don't have...
So it's cheaper freight?
So it's cheaper freight.
Yeah. Okay, here you go. You'll figure the corner there.
Down here. Oh, that's amazing. Perfect. That's, and then you just,
Yeah, and then we'll just
now,
close the ends.
Yeah.
Do you have anything else you want to put in the box?
No, I don't actually, because I think it's really well packed, but I don't think it's going to be moving around a lot. It should be fine just like that.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm happy with how it's packed. You might choose to put your pump in there. That's what I usually put in there. You might choose to put your helmet in there, a spare change of clothes, something like that. Obviously, there's different rules about on different airlines, so you'll need to check this yourself about what you're allowed to have in the bike box. Sometimes you're not allowed to have CO2 canisters, is one thing to think about. Sometimes you're only allowed up to 2 of them. All these different rules. Definitely read the rule book for whoever you're flying with, Virgin, Qantas, Jetstar, whoever it is, because they all have different rules. So I remember once I flew interstate, I went to Queensland and I had my saddle bag which had 3 CO2 canisters in it. They pulled me aside and they said, no, you're not allowed to do this. So I had to throw the CO2 canisters in the bin. So upsetting. It was like $7.50 worth of parts. Oh. Devastating. And I had to buy some more at the other end that I couldn't even bring back. So, but that's all different rules for different places. Awesome. Then we grab our tape gun. I choose to do 3 different spots. I choose to do 1 there, 1 in the middle, and then 1 on the other end. And then after that, I like to do a lap covering this whole part here so that I can tell if someone's opened up the box while it was in transport or anything like that. I don't want anything to get stolen out of there. Perfect. Easy as that.
Wow.
Alright.
So it's really good. It's got little handles
Yeah,
as well.
got little handles as well for you.
So I can carry.
Yeah, hopefully you can carry it.
Yeah, not too. We're doing planking.
It's not carbon fibre, is it? Also, we should mention which tools that you actually need for this job. It's not that many difficult tools that you need to go and buy. I suppose having a tape gun helps, but really the roll of tape is the main part that you need. That's the part that we use when we seal the box right at the end, the final step. We need whatever tool that you need to take the wheels off. On Serafina's little Freddo, it was a 15mm spanner. Sometimes it might be an 8mm Allen key or a 6mm Allen key. Either way, the tool to get the pedals off. It's important that we've got some zip ties as well. Some zip ties, some foam, and some bubble wrap. They're the 3 parts that we use when we're actually packing the bike up. And I like to use some scissors to cut it, I suppose, to cut the foam however it's needed. And equally as important, masking tape. Again, you might remember in the video I said that there's gaffer tape, there's duct tape, there's electrical tape, there's all these different tapes. Masking tape is the one that I've found to be the best because you can just rip it with your fingers. It's nice and easy, especially when you get back to the other end. So again, just looking at the parts here, there's not that many unusual parts. Obviously some Allen keys will always help out, but there's nothing unusual here. So hopefully they're tools that you already have yourself. You might need to go and grab some tape to seal the box up, or you might choose to buy yourself a tape gun. Not a necessity, but it definitely makes the job a whole lot easier. I obviously do probably more volume than most people, so having all the right tools helps, but they are all simple tools that you likely already have at home.
There is no way that I would be able to do this myself. Like, I just don't have the skills, the knowledge, the expertise, the packaging, the tools to do this. So this is really handy. So when I've put Fuji in a bike bag, she's just narrow and light, and all I did
Just fits nice and easily.
Yeah, took the wheels off, put them in the bag, and that's it.
Yeah.
Whereas Fredo's just too big to do that. So I think this is an amazing service. And so do you do this for people?
Yes, this is definitely something that I offer at Recycle Bicycle Sales as well. This is it's a $60 job that I charge out. That includes packaging, that includes the time to do it, that includes the box, that includes everything. $60, and your bike can be ready to go interstate or international.
This is cool.
Serafina, wait, I forgot the most important part. We have to put a sticker on the box.
Oh,
otherwise, how are we going to know?
100%.
Of course.
We need one, we need more.
We might put one at a few different spots, and we'll put one up the other end as well. Perfect. Now everybody knows where to send it back to if it gets lost.
I love that.
Awesome. All right, have a great trip. See ya.